Hey, welcome back, folks, to the channel, to the action of Korea versus Japan. We are about to get ready for game number 3, and it is another 3v3. But before we do, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and make sure after we're done with this, you check out the rest of the series and the rest of plenty more of the esports list that is building Age of Empires 4. In total, we have uploaded way over 150 videos on the YouTube side, and even more games happen on the live stream that you could be catching probably right now. So let's get underway, because I'm excited to see how this one's going to go. This one is going to be going late game. I'll give that warning already. I'm not going to spoil anything else. I don't know anything else. I try to avoid those details. I just noticed the time said that we are going to be in for the long haul. It is going to be here on Hillendale. Hillendale, I actually haven't had a chance to cast in a 3v3 setting yet. You can see just how drastically different the map looks. Pretty cool. A lot of kind of easy to defend choke points. Should allow for a hell of a slog of a match. Now, for those unfamiliar of what the score was so far, if you haven't been watching, shame on you. You've been missing out on some amazing games. But although the score says 1, it's actually 2. We've had 2 games so far. Both of them have been stomped by Korea. Okay, stomp might be unfair to a certain extent. Game 1 had its back and forths in the early game, but you could definitely feel that Korea was starting to take advantage. That was a one-on-one between Kiwian and Chart. And then game number 2, well, I've just got to give it to the Korean lads. In sync, understood their roles in the team much better, caused a lot of pain and agony for Japan. So let's see how Japan bounces back in game number 3. Because they have actually switched up their civ choices. Chart, instead of being on England, this time will be on the Rus. And that means that the Rus player, Koinu, has switched over to China, which gives them a lot of economy booming opportunities in a choke point based map. Not a bad choice. And then rounding it out is going to be NotAkon back on France again. So it feels like he wasn't the problem. He contributed the right amount. And that does give them an appropriate aggression in the early phase of the game to repel any aggression that might come out of their opponents. But you notice there's been a switch up as well for Korea. Leenock is going to be on his infamous China. This lad is quite the unit. One of the most impressive players consistently to watch on China, in fact. This is one of the guys you should definitely go to if you want to learn about it. Kiwian will be manning the Rus, so we are going to see him switch up. Remember, he was France in game number 2. Just looking for that tech boom volatility into a quick castle age timing that can be pretty lethal. And then rounding it out, our oddball, right? We've seen France already. Could have been another France to basically make it mirror matchups, but nah, that's not going to be the case. Murlocking is not happy with that. He says, you know what? I did enjoy that booming. I know I was playing England in game 2, but I very much enjoyed the ability to tech boom up and be a greedy son of a gun. So let me do that again, guys. I will deliver. He does exactly that by picking up the HRE. And on this type of map, I really love how greedy the Korean team is being. I think you can get away with this to quite a high extent when you consider how easy it is to hold these choke points. It does create a danger when you have to move out initially past your high ground, but keep in mind how long you can survive up here. You've got 3 tree lines. You've got, what, 3? Yeah, 3 gold veins, then 2 stone outcroppings. That's plenty to work with and to man a defense long enough to be Imperial Age before you need to push out. And also keep in mind that your opponent, the main one you're a little bit scared of is going to be Akon. Outside that, I don't necessarily expect these relics to be well guarded. There is going to be a little bit of a contest between players on the same team. One of those synergies that, you know, anti-synergies, shall we say, that we don't necessarily like to see is the fact that you have a Rus and HRE play on the same team. Both of these civs like to play hard into religion at the start of Castle. Of course, I do expect maybe some of this to be given up by Kiwian. There is actually a cool optimization you can do here, which I'd love to see. I haven't seen it yet in a team game, but because you've got a Rus player, Kiwian could very easily boom into Castle Age, run Warrior Monks out, collect the more dangerous relics, and then drop them off in front of Murlocking's base. It's a really cool idea that I haven't seen many people engage with, because the whole idea is, well, your horses move so much quicker, right? It's like 0.5 movement speed more, right? Otherwise, you've got these prelates movement 1 compared to the 1.62. So you're able to go collect those relics more easily as the Rus player. You're also not at risk necessarily from the knights charging you because they move at the same speed as a warrior monk. And then you just drop off 3 relics in your opponent's base, and Murlocking has a very easy 900 gold per minute in his economy, courtesy of his Regnitz Cathedral being filled up. And you know what? It would be fair. After all, look at this. Kiwian got left these deer. It's returning the favor. This is the other cool thing, because there's only 1 Rus player on each side, and because it's a 3-on-3 on Hillendale, you're definitely guaranteed your tier 2 without even leaving your base. Tier 3 should be very feasible for both of these Rus players. In fact, you can see one of them, Chart, has already clocked up to the 400 mark. Murlocking will be first to get the tech up. Kiwian just behind him. And of course, chart. So this is usually the order I'd expect. The HRE players should be able to boom first into a feudal, and then very quickly behind them, there should be both the Roost players. After that, I'm expecting China next, which we can see they're already underway with. China doesn't get as much of the immediate boom compared to like the HRE would, so they usually invest less people in actually upgrading, and that's why we've only got 2 people actually doing the tech up right now for Koinu. But it looks like while I was talking about that, Akon was able to tech up. More important for him to get rushed into that fuel age, courtesy of the fact you want early Knights out to give you those opportunities to flank and harass your opponent. But we can see Murlocking already anticipating that could be a risk, is setting up walls here. Palisades down that side, needs to send another person out the other, and needs to deal with the wolf that is trying to eat his ass. Yes, RCing is not advised in 2022 in the world of Age of Empires 4, as usually it's the bitey infantry, the wolves, that are doing it. And they don't leave much. Hey, say what you want about wolves, guys, but they're not fussy eaters, all right? And I like this out of Leenock. So he's actually doing the palisading. The reason he's doing this is he builds much quicker, right? So he's willing to take one villager away from his economy, also knowing that he'll catch up with the Song Dynasty and possibly multiple TCs. You don't want to slow down Murlocking. Murlocking is your tech player in this situation. You want him as quickly into the Imperial Age as possible, considering how much of an eco booster he gets between feudal and mid to late castle. On the other side, the comparative, usually in this situation, is going to be the Rus or the Chinese player. I'd expect the Chinese player to be a little bit more lax and them trying to support that, but you can utilize the Chinese building speeds to actually build your, be your defensive player. It does look like we're seeing France play more defensively and greedy this time around. This is a very early TC drop out of Akon, but understandable considering that if you went to heavy Knight spam on this map, it's choke points, right? By the time you run across this map, what are the chances that there's any way to get through? They're probably going to have wolves, right? So I like this read coming out of Akon. Otherwise, he would have invested probably in 3, maybe 4 Knights by the time he moves across and sees that, oh, there's no way in. This also does mean that you have a lot of ground to utilize your hunting, right? So you can have 2 players, even 3 actually, going to Pro Scouts in this situation, and they will just pick the map dry of these carcasses. Carcasses that I don't necessarily expect Leenock or Murlocking to necessarily play into. They might just try and pivot hard. And you can see that from Murlocking already. I'm a really big fan, especially on Hill and Dale, whether it's 1v1 or 3v3s. If you're playing the HRE, do this with your formation, right? You should be looking to get the Arca Chapel drop down near a tree line. I think would be the only detail I'd change about what Murlocking's done here, but in fairness, he didn't have a good option. But it's more about you get access to this mill, and then you cover your gold line. And the other beauty is because you're playing a choke point map and it's 3v3, there's enough breathing room that you can be more aggressive with your Arc and Chapel placement. What do I mean by aggressive? When I say aggressive and we talk about keeps, it's very obvious what I mean. When I say aggressive with an Arc and Chapel, that makes no sense. Like, this is an economy landmark, right? Well, aggressive would be further away from your TC, right? The aggressive thing is an aggressive economical advantage in that he's giving himself more room to transition into farmlands later. Notice that most of this circle is not touched by the TC. It means that you can strip away the house, you can strip away the mining camp, even the Regnitz Cathedral is just on the edge. He's going to have a lot of room to exploit farmlands for and get that huge boosted grab speed via the Holy Inspiration, always generated out of this Archon Chapel. And there's that tech up we were talking about. Murlocking is definitely going to be first. This is always the case. And most other players have stopped off for TCs. I say he's going to be first, but it looks like maybe Chart gave himself the edge. Does make sense on this map. Chart is up at 515 on the bounty system, which I believe Kiwian, 425. He still hasn't hit it. He got blocked out. He needs the boars now. That's frustrating. You don't want to be behind the Roost player like that. It's a 5% gathering rate increase, and then obviously there's a nice giant chunk of gold extra in your pockets. It's exactly why Abbey of Trinity is going to be complete first by the Roost player in the south on Team Japan. He's already getting the Arch Rangers down, so he's definitely ahead of Kiwian. It shouldn't matter too much just because the map's so big in this situation. The big deal breaker really is going to be the HRE player and whether he gets his hands on the relics easily. In terms of relic placement, there are these ones outside his base, and I will say that he should be able to easily gather these with his own prelate, mainly because there's been no signs of harassment. Knights are finally coming out from NotAkon, but they're not in position already. And he's got a hard choice to make, right? Like, remember, if we look at the Vision game, did they actually... Wow, okay, credit to them. They did snipe in and get a look at who's where. If they hadn't done that, they would have been playing blind, and that's a really big deal breaker. It's incredibly important that they find out where the HRE player is so they know where to create a small harassment zone first, right? To prevent those early relics. And you can see it already. Akon moving down the center and will probably shift across to the right to guard these relics, but he's too late. Murlocking grabs one. And I love this as well. Murlocking is not irresponsible. It's not being too greedy. He actually built into Spearman early as well. A lot of players don't do this, and they end up losing 2 free prelates. And it's not only the fact that you lose a prelate that costs 100 gold, and then also have to build it out of a building that's also the building you build your villages from. It's the fact that you're then missing out on gold trickle for another minute, 2, maybe 3 minutes, right? And it means that you're missing out on not only the fact that you have to replace for 100 gold these prelates, you're missing out on an additional 300 gold per minute. So you can kind of do the maths on that and rip your hair out on the inefficiencies quite easily. Koinu is going to start harassing. Spearman is moving across. So this is fine. Murlocking doesn't really have to drag away like this, but he's paranoid. He doesn't know if there's French Knight's coming as well. But now he has the Spearman here with the Prelate, he should be able to move out and secure that second relic. And it looks like he doesn't even need the assistance of Kiwian. Kiwian, who is currently looking to gather up his first relic himself. Everything's all slowed down. We will see the chart is heavy in on this castle age, so no scaling on the economy front. Meanwhile, China, well, get more farm than China, I challenge you. Koinu now up to 3 town centers. On the other side, it's only 2 out of Leenock. But Leenock is going to tech up first. So into the castle age he goes. Did we see no Imperial Academy. Wow, that's very surprising. Of course, Koinu did get his Imperial Academy, and if we look at the eco count right now, it's 58 compared to the 48. Of course, part of that is the third TC, but a decent chunk of that is to do with the Song Dynasty choice. So really surprised by Leenock here. He must have a plan in mind. Leenock is not the type of player to forgo the opportunity to be more greedy without a reasoning. Because Leenock is definitely a player that enjoys forcing later game scenarios. I've seen this time and time again. It's one of his specialities. It's something I give him a lot of credit for. Is even up against like Viper or the Muslim, basically the best in the game right now, he always finds a way to drag games out. More often than most, right? Like, if I had a percentage for, like, games dragged out, he'd be up at, like, 60%. And look at this! Here we go. This is what I want out of Kiwian. He's like, a generous tithe, a generous donation for the HRE princess. I don't think he even got the second. Did he get blocked on the second one? No, he's running back. I was about to say, I was shocked for a second there. There you go. Banks is second. Third is now coming. If they want to be really efficient, I think they are. Kiwian's going to say, drop the relic, and I'll pick it up and run it back. This is so cool. This is the camaraderie I want, guys. This is where 3v3s, 4v4s, 2v2s, they start to level up. Is when you get that fit. No, don't do the efficiency. Okay. He'll just go grab another one. It's fine. But like, you can do these details. The fact he'd done it in the first place is such a cool interaction that I'm glad we're starting to see. Because I feel like when I was watching the first few times where people were doing 2v2s, 3v3s, there was no real crossover. I think the first time I saw crossover was in a very imber match, and it was between Viper and Grobby playing up against 2 randomers who had got matchmaked unluckily into them. Or luckily if you're a fan of them and just want to say hi to them. And what happened is they were playing Delhi and HRE. And I think they built the Burgrave Palace, the one that allows you to build 5 units to HRE in the Castle Age. And then they also used the Tower of Victory, the Delhi landmark that's quite bugged. And he stuck the landmark in front of the HRE's base to buff all their units that came out. And I don't think it was like working correctly because Tower of Victory is bugged 10 ways to Sunday. It's kind of ridiculous right now. But it did create an interesting concept, right? These concepts that are going to start to come out more and more. And I love to see it because, I mean, guys, I grew up on Age of Empires, but I also grew up on like Dawn of War, Company of Heroes, Relic games, right? In the early days, Dawn of War especially, there was all these kind of cross-pollinations you'd have in team games that made them so much deeper. And I'm glad to see that when we move across into the Age of Empires realm, they've managed to obtain and maintain that beauty about their team games from 10 plus years ago. So Leenock is going to be only Spearman and the Clock Tower STBs. This is very similar to game number 2. If you remember, folks, Leenock was playing as the Abbasids, and he only built Spearmen and then built in the field into Mangonels. So he really is just looking to be the cannon fodder and the artillery. And it's a smart diversification, right? You're going to allow your HRE player to boost up, get the super quality like melee units, maybe get knights, and then also you're just going to allow Kiwian to be that mobile raiding force with the horse archers. So I like the idea of that composition. On the other side, NotAkon, he should just be providing knights, but it looks like he might be considering man-at-arms. I don't necessarily like that. It should be spears, yeah. So it's never his goal to get man-at-arms, because that should be the goal of China, if anything. It should be a mixture of Nesta Bees and probably Palace Guard, because they're so dominant and fast. Meanwhile, in the center, that's going to be your ranged cavalry again with the horse archers primarily. And then if we get very late in the game, maybe you'll consider Streltsy. Because one cool thing that I'm excited to see happen potentially in this game is you have Rus and China on both sides. What does that mean? That means you can quick wall, and then you can position Streltsy on top of the walls. And Streltsy are scary with that range advantage, right? Going from 4.5 to 6.5 range, almost Lombo range, on a unit that is designed to just be anti-everything Imperial Age all the way, baby. Let's see it. So no third TC. Although there might be soon. Leenock is gathering a lot of stone. He has enough. He wants the TC. I think he's just looking to prep for keeps into the Sacred Site control. You can see already one of them being capped by Kiwian. And this is a tough one because both teams have got a Sacred Site quite close to them, right? This isn't a straight line across. This is a pretty interesting generation. I will say the southern one kind of in some ways favors Murlocking to easily capture with the way this is likely to play out, considering the openings from both sides. And I love that they stonewall with Koinu. So their intent is to probably get the Great Wall, right? So remember, when you get the Great Wall, your walls heal themselves. And they get bonus health, etc. So it's actually an incredibly powerful landmark choice when you do what they're doing here. No Great Wall built yet, but I do expect it soon. Really cool as well. I don't really often see Great Wall, so I'm quite excited to see how effective it's going to be. The only way this makes sense is if they're planning for a Wonder victory. Question is, are they going to be quick enough with that plan? Because I think if both teams decide on a Wonder victory condition, Murlocking has the advantage. He's already teched up. Yes, Chart has matched him in the Imperial Age, but remember, you scale much better. You have a Palace of Swabia, which is basically 4 TCs, and you also have Inspiration to boost your rates even quicker. So I do think that if we talk, not to mention obviously the passive goal, so I do think if we talk about a situation where we're looking at Wonder victories, which on this type of choke point-oriented map, it is feasible, the edge is 100% with the side of Korea having access to the HRE. Remember, you don't want to allow that awkward situation as well. I mean, Japan's already 2 games down. Series is getting a little bit deep. I think there's going to be a 1v1 after this, so it would be nice for you to get a morale booster. You don't want to be in a situation where they're 3 games up over you and you put all the pressure on one player to deliver and potentially, put them in a situation where it just ends your dreams. As like I said, last time they'd done this event, it went to 8 games with a fun final one to round it out, and the score ended up being 4 points to, I believe it was, Japan. Japan took it 4-2 over Korea. So this time around, looking like we're heading towards an opposite result, but we'll see. Still plenty of time left in this game and plenty of ways that Japan can finally get a point on the board. Chart will move out with the Horse Archer spam. Looks to decap the Sacred Site. Has control of the one in the south as well. And Kiwian very out of position now. So he has to make a choice. He'll have to commit to the southern Sacred Site. You just want to avoid giving that free gold trickle and put yourself in a situation where your opponent can leverage majority Sacred Sites and maybe push for the third. And now Leenock is teched up. So 2 players on Korea have reached into the Imperial Age. Chart, he did play that greedy eco boom we were talking about. And has banked a lot of relics. 6 relics in total. Remember, he's the only player doing it. Meanwhile, on the other side, I think Kiwian, he actually, wow, he didn't take any of them. He didn't get any of them. So they got the Regnitz Cathedral capped out, but Chart still got a decent chunk of cheddar. He's getting 600 gold per minute compared to Murlocking getting the 900 gold per minute. And those are the only players to gather them. A little bit frustrating for Kiwian. I think he was hoping that he'd be able to contest and actually get that bit extra. But while Chart can play Greedy Eco Boomer, Kiwian can't. Otherwise, you have 2 players playing Ultra Greed, and then you have an HRE that's not even going to have mid-game units to protect themselves. So I understand and respect the choice he made. And it does now put Murlocking in a strong point to start pushing out these heavy units. Elite Man-at-Arms on the move. 2-handed and maces already achieved, so they pack quite the wallop. They do have to get close enough, though, and he hasn't researched the movement speed yet. I don't even see a blacksmith. There it is. So leaving marching drills until last. Don't want to leave it too long, though. Keep in mind that you are up against France and the Rus, so probably a lot of cavalry. And then you have to add in the fact that China can get access to the Yuan dynasty, which gives them movement speed. And in fact, they do have access to that. I believe Koinu is planning quite the raid soon. At the moment, he's just the artillery line, but I think he's looking to support cavalry. Yep, Fire Lancers coming out. These are incredibly lethal. Even against armored targets, they can do some decent damage, because remember, their charging attack is splash, and then they have the additional siege damage when burning buildings or siege weapons down. And it does mean that you need to be cannon fodder front line if you're playing France, and that's why we're seeing spears. This is not what I call optimal. Your French player really wants to be pushing out stable units and archery units, right? Because that's where you get the discount. That's where you get the efficient economy usage. If anything, I'd say it would be better to maybe have Chart producing man-at-arms and Streltsy, and then basically let your French player play support range and get the heavy cavalry. Move engagement. Advantage going towards Chart. It's going to force Kiwian away. He still doesn't upgrade his horse archers yet. He's still sitting in Castle Age. Actually, he's the last player in Castle Age. So that's going to give over a lot of ground to the opposing Rus player. Meanwhile, Uni finally being built by Murlocking, but no one really has an answer just yet to the elite archers. It looks like finally Kiwian has caught up, but now he needs another minute or two. So you have to hope your opponents don't raid into your base and look to breach. Nice move by Leenock to quickly get down this keep. It's going to cost him a few villages, but he will be able to place it and secure the gold and the tree line expansion. That's a really big deal. You can't really siege this. Even with the fire arrows, I wouldn't advise it if you're playing as the Rus player here with just horse archers. High Armory has been built, but no intent by Chart to switch over. It really is just horse archers. Instead, he's going to rely on his Chinese compatriot to provide the siege. And it is going to be a mixture of spears and elite Royal Knights now moving out. And here are the Fire Lancers. These Fire Lancers do a lot of damage. 27 in a splash on the initial charge. If you catch a range formation off guard, that is the range formation entirely gone. Did he actually go for the Great Wall in the end, by the way? I couldn't find it. So maybe not. Still has the option later on, of course. I'm trying to remember. Wonder Victory. God, I see them so rarely. Like, is it 10 or 8 minutes? Because this could end up with a Wonder Victory if this breach doesn't work. Sorry, it's 15, right? Yeah, 15. Which is an insane amount of time to defend a Wonder. But if there was any map for it, outside of a water map, this could be the one. I just feel like the way that they're playing on Korea, they're going to try it. They're not really coming out much, right? They're coming out for economy, but they're not really looking for a foothold militarily in the center. It feels like they know they're outpaced at the moment. And while they'll patrol this small skirmish force like this, they're not hard committing. If anyone's going to hard commit right now, it's going to be Japan that try to breach. Here we go. Fire Lancers in. And watch how quickly this burns. Holy... That's a keep! That is a keep, and that is less than 20 Fire Lancers. Gaben, please. Not even the right game, but Gaben, please. Someone save us from this. This is not reasonable. He lost 4 Fire Lancers to get rid of a keep. Absolutely absurd. And they'll even snipe out some villages. Murlocking doesn't really care. Remember, he's playing as HRE, so he can replace his very cheap and fast with the 5-second production time at 12 food. It's not really a loss when you lose any economy as the HRE at this stage in the game. Not really lost much for anyone at this stage. I mean, TC count. Yep, expansion TCs now, so Chart got multiples as well. And I reckon the French player probably went up to 3. Oh, no, okay, so no third TC. He's kind of comfortable. His economy isn't really exposed. If you notice, he's not really playing out into the center. He finally did try to move out a little bit, but it's mainly just a guard, right? China's the only one who's pulling out into the center right now for economy. Speaking of China, Leenock. This expansion is really cool. Oh, the damage coming out as well. The Nest of Bees scares them away. The Fire Lancers, they thought they were doing well against the Spears. Backfired quickly, though. And this is really cool. Leenock, look, they're trying to layer this. They've got stone walls here. They're now setting up a second round of stone walls and keeps as well. I think this is starting to move towards, like, Wonder condition at this rate. And the importance is that if they want to achieve Wonder, they have to secure this first, right? If they don't actually lock in this Sacred Site, it's going to be very easy for their opponents to play into the midsection as soon as they see a Wonder being built and just control Sacred Sites. Because remember, Sacred Site victory takes 10 minutes. The Wonder victory condition takes 15. And it is going to be a Wonder. There it is. Of course it was going to be the HRE player. This is the thing that was making me think it was going this way. Hill and Dale, HRE on one side, and you've got China. This just makes a lot of sense. They're getting walls up as well, and they're going to layer upon layer upon layer this. Yep, stone walls going down the front as well. Murlocking, he can afford to expend troops like this as well. Remember, he just has so many villages that he can commit to this so easily because he can replace them quickly. And his economy is so efficient already, he doesn't care. So there we go. Murlocking's Wonder is up. We better start the 15-minute timer. So let's actually Sacred Site victory, Wonder. So let's see. Wonder Victory triggered at it's 24 minutes. Apologies that I'm not paying much attention. I'm busy. I think it was about 24 minutes, right? Roughly that. So we'll put it at 24. That's about right. So there's the clock, guys. Start the clock. And it looks like the HRE's army is going to get wiped. Not a good way to start the defense of the Wonder, but they've got plenty of time to buy, and they've got plenty of infrastructure to replace their units with. And you can see even more walls now coming down. Bombard's in position as well for Leenock. And this is going to alleviate pressure. It might actually free up a lot of room for Kiwian to raid. However, look who's raiding first. Koinu. He's looking for the wide wrap via the Roos area of the map. And you don't really want to give this over if you're Leenock. The Nesta Bees are out of location as well. Walls will be complete. This sneak through is going to go unnoticed, though. So Leenock going to get a surprise. It's more about losing the keeps as the bad detail here. So charge in, get rid of 1-2 villages. A lot more villages behind this as well. And these keeps will not last long. Down to 22. You can see the cancel animations making this so quick. He'll try and garrison now. He can't repair it. He's going to lose one keep. He might be able to save the second, though. I think there's enough damage into this line of Fire Lancers that they can't actually kill off the second keep in time. And that's important. You want to actually have these delay points. You want to have these keeps lasting as long as possible, because the last thing you want is to give multiple points of access into this. And there it is, the Great Wall Gatehouse. This is what I was looking for. Increased health of all stone walls and gates by 100%. And then, of course, the bonus damage you would get from being on the walls is incredible. And we would have probably seen this out of Koinu. I think they maybe had a similar idea as a backup plan on Team Japan. They're just not able to do it now. They're the ones that have to ramp the pressure up. They have to find a way in quick. And they need a transition, because Horse Archers and Fire Lancers ultimately is not going to be very effective against all these walls. Murlocking? Buddy? But... I'm sorry. Did I miss the patch notes? Last time I checked, scouts were just meant to flock sheep. Turns out they flock HRE boys as well. So bad. You'll finally realize it, like, oh, whoops. That went on for a little bit longer than it should have. And chart. Doesn't actually kite. Oh, wow. Murlocking's engaging. If he engages right now, he'll kill all the Horse Archers. It's so hard to see. The map is so big. There's so many pings about attacks. But he will get it off in time. He'll get through the Horse Archers in the end. And I love that they're not just sitting back and saying, come to us, right? They're looking to move out because they understand resources are important to maintain. And more importantly, if you force fights constantly in the mid-ground, you never actually come under threat at your monument. And it also gives you time to recover a secondary army once they begin sieging you. And Kiwian dragging a lot of attention here. However, he's not going to last long. Once these Fire Lancers touch tips, he's in trouble. That's why he retreats behind. Needs to get inside the walls. Leenock beautifully places these in front of the Sacred Site. It means he's going to be able to retreat behind it. They can just pick apart whatever remains at the moment. Needs to be careful, though, because Chart still outnumbers him on the Horse Archer front, so he'll have to back away. But this is frustrating, right? You don't want to be here. Japan, this is the wrong place. Like, this is the worst-case scenario having to come for this. They wanted to try and get to the Sacred Site, but keep in mind they only have a few minutes left for that to be feasible. Remember that the Wonder Victory was triggered about 24 minutes in, and while it takes 15 minutes, and a Sacred Site takes 8, you're approaching that kill point, right? Where Sacred Site victory is no longer a condition that can win you this game. Everyone with the pop caps again. More walls going down. Dude, this combo, this is a beaut. HRE and China just work so damn well together. And I'm still looking forward to that point where we start to see Kiwian pushing out Streltsy. He's still doing Horse Archers for the moment, but I think Streltsy would be fantastic as well. Especially considering the limited siege weapons your opponents are pushing out, right? Like, there's a few Nesta Bees, but it's mainly just Springalds. Meanwhile, Murlocking, the owner of the Wonder, is just sticking to the Man-at-Arms. Man-at-Arms and Spears. It's just cannon fodder to push in and push back constantly. Good old Great Palace of Flensburg. Is that an actual place? Flensburg sounds like quite the funky name. It's German. I'm English. I shouldn't judge. Oh, sneak in. Wait, where did they... Oh my god, the wood line! They sent out villagers! This is the weakness! We talked about this before. It's so easy to sneak in, however, it is a choke point. The bad news is there's no siege weapons here to exploit the fact that they're pushing through a choke point like this. And this is the curse of trusting wood lines to protect you with stone walls. It's just so easy to chop through and move past. And they're going to aggressively drop a keep. And this is a big deal. We're 5 minutes, so what are we looking at? Still a 2-minute window. They're going to have to decap a Sacred Site to feel good. They're charging out for the moment. I might have to take a moment to add in a second timer. So... looking at... there it is at exactly... oh god, I can't see it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to say 29. It was about 29:30, right? Guys, until they give us the tools, this is the scuff crap you're stuck with. I'm sorry. Ooh. I'm doing my best here. I didn't think we'd have Sacred Sight and Wonder victories triggered in the same one, but we really do. They need a decap. They need it soon. They've got a lot of troops stationed around the Wonder. They need to push out of it. Remember that Sacred Sight victory only takes 8 minutes. Wait, 10. 10. Why do I keep thinking 8? 10. So... oh my god, are they too late? They're too late! Oh, that sucks. So actually, yeah, you don't care. Because Sacred Sight's 10, right? I don't know why. Before, I was always getting mixed up with 8. I don't know if it... maybe in an earlier iteration, it was 8. But I'm pretty sure it's 10. Because we had this discussion before, right? Yes, so it's 10 minutes. And that means they were 30 seconds too late. Possibly less. But it means that they have to go in. And it means that if you are on the side of Team Korea, all you have to do is stand and hold strong. Man the walls, man the lines. Not one step back, not 1 foot given for free. Bombard's moving in. Charge out. Murlocking's like, I can just replace him, I don't care. Go, Langeneck, go! Show them our blood! He holds the choke. Bombard's pushing through. Needs to micro. Leenock has so many here. Nesta B's getting in range in the choke point. That could really break the army. Here they come. Shots in. Trying to push through. Langeneck just about to fold. Wrap around to the side. The Fire Lancer's trying to backstab here. And Imperial Power's being dropped in a weird location by Leenock. He's going to get it off, though. And that's going to give him the movement speed. That's going to juice him up. He now moves so fast. These villages, 1.49. Everything is speedy. The Grenadiers. He built the Grenadiers. We never see these. Are they doing enough, though? Lob of the frags, but there's nothing clustered right now. Everything's split, and here it comes. Reinforcements have arrived. The Rus cavalry right in from the west. Kiwian, there's barely anything left here to fight. It means he's going to be able to breach straight into the cannon line. And they aren't replacing troops quick enough. There's no forward base coming out from the Rus. It's them riding across the map, promising to be there at the strike of dawn. But dawn is going to come too late. They're in the wrong time zone. The siege weapons are all spent. They're going to be pushed back again. Knights charging in. Retreat back into the choke point. Once more into the fold, but so many bombards from both the HRE and China here to defend this choke point. It's so easy to just pick them apart. Cheap spearmen, man-at-arms, in with a pricey Langeneck, just good enough to hold you back long enough that the cannons will rip you apart. Kovrin's now being built by Akon. Trying to do his part, but there's just still so many horse archers to get through, and it's a problem. They're pushing out again. Never content to stand back. As soon as they hit their pop cap, they ride out again. And it just feels like the reinforcement is never there for Japan. All this surplus resource, but they don't have the forward base, and it's the difference. On the defensive field, this is why they just keep outnumbering and pushing further out. It's because they've got close by points to reinforce. The only player who has to run a long way is Kiwian. Meanwhile, you have 3 players on the side of Japan that have to run far. I say 3, there's a small contingent here from Akon, but most of his troops are coming from all the way across map as well. And this Congo line of death is exactly that. They are dancing towards their graves, happily, but blindly. And the Bombard Siege just keeps on coming. Makes you wish you had some Splash Siege or something right now. There's just so many here. Over 10 Bombards still standing. And you have none. And they just keep pushing. The Grenadiers are doing so much work. It's a ranged Fire Lancer. They can't hold. They haven't got any Nesta Bs. If they did, maybe it'd be a difference maker, but the backup of the Bombards ensures that not only are they winning on the wonder count, but they are gaining ground across the map. And you just can't stop. There are no brakes on the career train. And it is about to run Japan through. Grenadiers. Remember, it's splash damage, guys. Decent range, 18 damage. Look how quickly they just pull apart anything. Once they reach these horse archers, watch this. Here comes the damage. Backs away just in time. However, the Fire Lancer charge in. More Grenadiers. They wind up their arms and they toss it in. And anything they fail to take out, the horse archers recover on. And so much ground forfeited. More reinforcements now coming out from Murlocking. Notice the rate has slowed down because it's so far to run. But they still haven't lost the Grenadiers or the horse archers. And there's no regroup. There's just so much pressure. Nobody seems to be calling the shots to calm down and group up. And they can't afford to. They're still being outpaced in the production rates. They can't get troops in quick enough. Even if they slow down, it's going to be 200 and 200. And the difference is the Grenadiers. The Grenadiers that the Chinese player on Team Japan still isn't matching. He's still pushing out Fire Lancers the whole time, and it's why they're suffering. And here we go, Grenadiers. They push in. They send a Hail Mary in. They say, I don't care if we die. 150 health. Just try and kill me quick enough. And what started off as your DPS carry has become your frontline carry. They'll be joined by Murlocking. The Langsnet getting close enough as the Grenadiers get prioritized. And they are just running it all through. And there is no flank attack, no focus elsewhere. It is all on this Congo line. Here are the reinforcements. All that while, remember Kiwian, this is the remainder horse archers. He's got a secondary group wrapping around the back. They won't see the eco line, but they don't need to. Economy doesn't matter anymore. It's a 3v3. You both play defensive. You've got ridiculous surplus. You're not going to run out anytime soon. It's just territory gains. And piece after piece, it's all going the way of Korea. They need a switch. They need an owl. Lancers moving in. Grenadiers. Looking for the Kobe. Donks him hard, forcing him back again. Man-at-Arms still holding a small front line. It's buying enough time. The Bombards move back up, and they refuse to let up here. And these spirals are pathetic. They're doing nothing. These attempts by Char are inferior. They're not achieving anything right now. And there's just so many horse archers. It's the front line of the Man-at-Arms that are lasting so long. The Grenadiers follow up with 150 health. That is making it so hard to breach. And guys, we don't get often to see Grenadier games. We don't often get to see this amazing unit in play, but we're seeing just how damn effective it is. It's cost effective too as well. Look at the cost. 84 food, 42 wood, 42 gold, courtesy of the discount of 30% from the Spirit Way. Makes them an incredibly cost effective unit. And it's something that if you want to match as Koinu, you'd have to transition, you'd have to delete all these stables. And that would put a break, that would put a gap, right, in your front line. A front line that is folding and breaking constantly. You can't afford to let up. It means you're just locked, you're stuck. There's no switchover available. And they're backing up. They say, well, guys, I noticed we got a little bit far forward. Our reinforcement rates are definitely down. Just fall back to the fold. I don't know why we're here. We don't need to be. 2 more minutes and we're done with this. Oy, oy, oy. And I'm going to hide that Sacred Site victory because unless you can get rid of this wonder, it's irrelevant. And I just don't think you can at this rate. More walls as well. Oh my god, Leenock, you absolute legend. All the time in the world, and he just layers it. It's like, see you soon, suckers. A new choke point has been discovered. They'll break through it quickly with the Bombards, but it's a choke point nonetheless against Grenadiers. This is the worst case scenario. If you push through before taking out more walls, you're in trouble. And so many man-at-arms. Well, looking on the stance, his role is simply tanking. Langstick don't matter anymore. They have enough AoE splash from the Chinese player alone. Leenock proving exactly why he is worth, what, almost $500,000 in prize pool earnings? As he's playing like an absolute boss. The ride past, his desperation sets in. Akon trying to break by, but it's too little too late. They cannot even get past the second wave of walls, let alone into the primary base and onto that sacred site. And it looks like they've done it. Korea are about to be 3 games up, and I realized this whole time, why is that, what? That's not the right teams. I'll update afterwards, apologies folks, but yes, game 3 will go the way of Korea. It's now 3-0 up for them. What a fantastic showing.